risk, quality, procurement, scope, schedule, cost, or requirement, all those plans. If you want to change something in them, you need to have a change request. Hello. In this video, I'm going to share an interesting things. Now I'm planning to make a list that can help you to solve PMP question in the best possible way. So I'm gonna make this tips and tricks video series for PMP. Whenever we are solving the coaching calls, some tips and tricks that comes up, and we did solve 180 question answer session. And if you haven't watched, do watch. It is still live, and you can have a look at that. So few tips and tricks I want to share with you. First of all, always act as a servant leader. What do I mean by always act as a servant leader? You see, this is an important thing to have that mindset that no matter what problem occur, we never fire team member. Okay, we never fire team member. That is a big no. We are not going to fire our team member whatsoever. That is the first thing that we need to understand as a servant leader. Second thing, throughout the project, whenever there is a problem in the project, the team member is unable to do, he does not know how to do, always provide training, especially for the hardcore skill. If it's a communication problem, provide coaching or mentoring. Training is more of a hard skill. If someone does not know about the software or things like that, coaching is more of a soft skill, and mentoring is a long-term thing. Okay, so training, coaching, mentoring. As a project manager, you do the training need assessment at the start of the project for the entire team, and then throughout the project for an individual team member, and this keeps on happening throughout the project. Even in the last stage, whenever this happens, you keep on providing the training, work with them, identify the training requirements, provide them those things. A very important thing, as a servant leader, you never share the velocity of a single team member. Okay, if I use a different pen now, you never share the velocity of a single team member. Velocity in Agile should be of the team. Okay, we don't want to share one team member is not doing work, good or bad. Velocity is always shared for the team. That's another tips. We have discussed how many? 1, 2, 3. Tip number 4. We always share the velocity of our complete team. And same when we are looking for rewards and recognition. Rewards and recognition needs to be looked at, and we need to understand the culture. What are the cultures that are pertaining, and how those cultures affect, and rewards have to be taken into consideration when we are providing the for example, you are giving tangible rewards, intangible rewards that need to be linked according to the culture, political situation of the team. So this is an important thing that we need to understand whenever we are working with the team. Whenever there is a conflict among the team, we need to look at that. Let's talk about a conflict. Now a conflict occurs among the team member. So whenever a conflict occurs among the team members, we need to look at the stage of the conflict, right? First, we need to look at what stage the conflict is. Identify the stage, and once you identify the stage, then try to get a win-win situation. That is always the best case scenario. But even if you could not get the win-win situation, sometime forcing or smoothing can be a solution. It's not necessary, but it can be a solution for a pattern scenario when you have to look into that. Okay, this is the way to go towards that. So that's not a bad thing as per se, but we need to have to look into that. I actually get up early in the morning, not early, I just got up in the morning. I was going to have a shower, but this thing is in my mind till night when we did 180 question that I want to share some tips. So before shower, I wanted to do that and share it with you. Okay, so conflict, how we are going to handle the conflict, win-win situation, looked into that and worked into that. Let me look at my camera one time. Okay, yeah, I can use the downside paper also. Okay, so the conflict is there, we identify the conflict and we work into that. So another important thing, whenever there's a problem in the project, The first thing, the problem is in the project. There's a problem. The project manager, the servant leader, he needs to solve that problem himself. Okay, that is always the thing. He need to solve himself. He need to do the impact analysis, and then after that he can communicate to the team. Okay, once we have communicated with the team, once we have worked with the team and team identified that this has been done, then only then we can escalate it to project manager, sponsor. Then we can escalate to the sponsor. So escalating to the sponsor is always the last stage. So this is 6, this is 7, I can say this is 8. So escalating to the sponsor is always the last strategy. We never want to go to escalation. But there's always a but, there's always a catch. Let's say the project become obsolete. Benefit to cost. This is why the business case is made. Your business case or benefit management plan is not valid. The benefits are less, the cost is more. So you directly escalate to the sponsor. This needs to go to escalation. Sponsor needs to look into that because this is something that is now beyond our budget, beyond our threshold. You escalate to the sponsor, and then sponsor can basically, when the sponsor says, okay, start, you are allowed to do closing, then you start the closing. You cannot start the closing unless the sponsor says that, okay, this has been done. You need the approval of sponsor before starting the closing. This is something that is extremely important, and this needs to be done according to this way. Then you can start closing the project. I hope that makes sense to you, that how we can do closing in the project, what is the best way of closing. The sponsor gives the approval, then you start the closing. Sometimes, like when the projects are closed, okay, let's look into that way. How many topics we discussed before? Once it was the point number 7, 8, this is 9. Closing the project. The closing has two things. First, the project is successful, the client has accepted deliverable. The second scenario is project is unsuccessful. Unsuccessful can be because you don't have budget anymore, the benefit to cost is not valid, the benefits are not, cost is too much, risk is too much, it is not possible to do, whatever it is. It is successful, the client has accepted, it is unsuccessful. It both goes to one thing. You show it to the sponsor give approval for the closing, and now you start doing the closing. After sponsor's approval, you start closing. The first thing is you start writing final report. Okay, then you start updating lesson learned register, project document. Once final report is shared according to communication plan, the lesson learned and these documents are updated, then you archive them, put them into repository so that lesson learned repository can be used for future. Then you release the team and do the administrative closure. Team is released later. Important point, team is released later, so now you can close the projects formally. Okay, this is all about how you close the project. Okay, a few things about change request. Whenever a change is requested in a predictive or a hybrid project, and when it is not mentioned that this project is predictive or agile or hybrid, you will consider it as a hybrid. Okay, predictive, it will always be considered as a hybrid. And in hybrid, you have a change control board, so a change must be requested formally. It goes to change control board, sponsor is the head of that, they evaluate, they do the impact analysis of that change, scope, schedule, cost, all those impact analyses are done, and once that impact is approved, then that this change is good to go, then you build the change, communicate it, and implement the change. It's an important thing, the change must go to that. And for all the 18 plans, if you haven't watched the video of 18 plans and documents, I'll put the link there. Do look at that. What are the 18 plans? For all the 18 plans and 3 baselines, scope, schedule, cost baseline. Plans are basically stakeholder plan, communication, risk, quality, procurement, scope, schedule, cost, or requirement, all those plans, if you want to change something in them, you need to have a change request. But to put something into the stakeholder register, to put something into the risk register, issue log, you don't need a change request. This is an important characteristic. So I hope my pace is not too much and you understand what I'm saying. This is an important thing into there. Acha ji. So in an agile, when a change is requested, the change directly goes to product owner. The change directly goes to product owner. Product owner takes that change, and basically when the change is requested, product owner take that change and he put it into the product backlog. Basically we respond to the change over following a plan is one of the value of agile. So we want to take that value into consideration and we want to work into that way. So that is why this product owner and this thing happens. Okay, change request is clear. What else we can discuss? Sponsor is there. Yeah, in a contract, when you are handling a problem in a contract, this was 10th, this was 11th, 12th. In a contract, whenever there's a conflict, so the step number 1 is always basically try to get a win-win situation. If we get a win-win situation, that is the best case scenario, and do the negotiation actually. If not, try to do what is written in the contract, and mostly contracts are silent, they don't have the enough information into that. So if that is the way, then you go to a mediator. That is a third thing, you go to a mediator. Then the fourth thing, then you go to court. Going to the court is always the last case scenario, and we don't want to do that thing. Okay. Okay, let's come one of my favorite thing. We were at number 12, 13. Number 13. If an unidentified event is identified, means something you did not know, but now you know before it happened, right? Something you did not know this can happen, but before that thing actually happens, you identify it. That's a risk. It goes to risk register. It goes to risk register. An unidentified event is identified, it goes into risk register. Okay. If an unidentified event occurred without being identified, like you identified later on, it goes into issue log. Okay. If an unidentified event occur and you identified after its occurrence, it goes into issue log. So this is the difference between risk register and issue log. Now, something was in the risk register and that happened, like the trigger occurred, the trigger for the risk occurred, you had a plan, you implemented the plan, you will update the risk register. You will update the risk register. Many people get confused and says that now the risk has occurred, we will update issue log. No. If the plan is fine, it occurred according to the plan, you will update the risk register. Okay, so the question can be an identified event has occurred, what would you do? So you will update the risk register. And once the risk register is updated, it can have a residual risk. And if you identify residual risk before it occurred, before occurrence is, it goes to risk register. But if you identify it later on, it goes into issue log. Same goes about the accepted risk or residual risk or secondary risk. Sorry, I really need my coffee. Secondary risk. So risk and issue log thing, I hope that makes sense. 14th, I guess I will close it at 15 points and make another video. What do you say about that? Because long video people don't watch that much, and my purpose is you learn actually. 14th, anytime a stakeholder is identified, anytime, it can be start, mid, it directly go to the stakeholder register. You don't need a change request for that. Then you get prioritize, categorize, power interest matrix. Now if you need a new engagement strategy to engage this stakeholder, now if you need a new engagement strategy and this is after the stakeholder plan has been approved, you raise a change request to update the stakeholder engagement plan. you update the stakeholder engagement plan. Okay, and once the stakeholder engagement plan is updated, current engagement, desired engagement, you update the communication management plan. You update the communication management plan at any time. If the project is, the question is saying something like that he is not receiving information 4 hours of communication, or the frequency he wants to decrease, or anything like that, you look at the communication plan. And if the question says the strategies are not effective, you update the stakeholder plan. If the question says a new stakeholder is identified, or a new stakeholder has come, you always go to the stakeholder register and put him there. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and further on we can make more of these questions as we move forward. Okay guys, important thing, SPI-CPI, schedule performance index, cost performance index, should be greater than 1. It's a good for the project. And CPI, cost variance, schedule variance should be greater than 0. If they are less than 0, then it's a bad thing. Equal to 1 is a okay thing. So this is some of the tips and tricks that I wanted to share that were bothering me we did last night 180 questions. I was like, that was a recorded session, but I was thinking about those questions and wanted to summarize few of those things. How, when this happen, what will happen, when this happen, what will happen. Let me add one more thing as a bonus. 16, whenever a compliance things come, compliance always go to risk register. This is another thing, compliance, legal requirement, that many people think quality management plan. No. If the compliance thing is, it goes into the risk register. So I hope this video has been useful for you. If you like it, wherever you are watching, like it, comment it. I always want to interact with you, with your comments, whatever you feel about this thing, this 16 points, which of the points stood out for you, which of the point you disagree. So I would like to communicate with you and see how we can improve it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will keep making such kind of videos. And of course, my name is Amer Ali. If you want to join my program, you can always contact me. Thank you very much. Bye bye. That's a good video, by the way. Yeah, I think so.